Patrocínio Norte Avenue Bakery, Hotel Praia Sol, Luís Firmino Insurance, MCM Clinic, Top Burger, Go Car Service, Coimbra Restaurant. Bem-vindos a mais um Legal Way. É sempre um prazer estarmos na vossa companhia, é sempre um prazer estarmos a levar até si tudo aquilo que tem que saber em questões de imigração. And without further ado, I'm welcoming Dr. George Russo. Thank you for being here again.
Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure. Doctor, so many things happening. What's new as far as immigration so far?
Well, the most important new development is that if you have what's called advanced parole, the law has now changed on that, okay? Advanced parole is a process where someone who has an immigration status of some sort, whether that be TPS, temporary protective status, or DACA, or say they have a pending green card application, they can file a form that requests advanced parole, which is kind of what it sounds like. In advance, you're requesting that you be allowed to be paroled into the United States when you return. And this was a way to allow certain immigrants to avoid the 3 and 10-year bars that come with leaving the country after you get a period of unlawful presence. But last week, the Board of Immigration Appeals got rid of it. They basically said that any travel after I believe August 13th, is no longer going to be considered an advanced parole. So what that means is that if you're someone who has DACA and has TPS or has a pending green card claim, you should not travel outside the United States, even if you have a pre-approved permission, because the law has changed and you might not be let in. You should definitely speak with a lawyer before that happens.
So extremely important, because in the past, will be a request, for example, for someone with a DACA to leave the country for a certain period of time. What happened was a change in the law. Quer isto dizer que houve uma alteração na legislação, na lei, e se tem alguma coisa que foi previamente aprovada para sair do país, deve contactar um advogado. Porquê? Porque se decide sair por sua iniciativa, poderá não ter a oportunidade de voltar. It's so drastic as that, correct, doctor? You know, you leave the country now, probably they will not allow you to come back.
Right, yeah. So every entry into the border or in an airport is subject to the discretion of the officer. And this is important because a lot of people with DACA and TPS have been able to adjust their status, which means get their green card, change their status to green card here in the United States. They've been using prior entries under TPS in order to do that. That was kind of one of the ways to get kind of a backdoor in order. If you crossed the border but somehow got TPS and then left on an advanced parole, that was one of the ways that people were able to get a green card, right? And if you do have one of those old advanced paroles, that advanced parole is still valid. But if that parole document that you have authorizes you to make another trip, that's something that you should be very careful before you do.
Só fica aqui, portanto, a informação, muita atenção. A lei alterou e pode trazer, portanto, repercussões adicionais. Contacte um advogado, 973-344-9120, 48 Wilson Avenue. O Dr. George Russo tem toda a informação que poderá ser pertinente para o seu caso. Doctor, I have a question here before we move forward with that situation. Someone that is waiting for, they went to do the citizenship, passed the test. They told them that they will send out a letter to do the swearing in. It's a new process now?
Well, yeah, starting, it's new as of last year, right? Okay. So it used to be, if you passed the citizenship test, they were doing a same-day oath swearing in, where you would just go and wait with a bunch of people, and you would all take the oath of citizenship together. Now, they're calling you in for the citizenship interview, running through the tests that you have to, the civics test, the English test that you have to pass, and then they're doing the security questions to make sure that you're eligible, and then they're going to give you a notice that says, come back in the future, hope maybe in a month or so when we schedule you for your ceremony. In the interim, they're doing additional security checks and background checks and anything to just delay the process, it seems.
So, yes, that person has been waiting for 3 months. Any advice? Without receiving a letter.
3 months is relatively normal. One of the things that that person could do is they could check the status of their case by taking their receipt number from their N400 and putting it into the online system and seeing where the status is. Then if they scroll down a little more, they might be able to fill out what's called a status inquiry, which will be a free request that basically asks immigration, hey, my application's taking too long, what's going on? And that will then maybe trigger them to take action.
I have another question from someone. As a family member detained here in Newark, at Delaney Hall, that person has health conditions, several health conditions. They are worried about their situation. What a person like that or the family can do to making sure that that person gets the support that they needed?
Well, that person has the right to medical treatment. They have the right to medical treatment and they have the right to see their lawyer, and they have the right to be treated decently. Okay, so what they can do is they can gather evidence of the pre-existing medical records that they had that shows proof of a pre-existing condition, and then they can hire a lawyer to go visit that person. That lawyer can speak with the individual and document what's happening. Then, if there is in fact mistreatment or neglect, a habeas corpus motion or a petition for habeas corpus could be filed in federal court that would basically say, this person's rights are being violated.
Fica aqui, portanto, a informação, muito importante ter acesso a todos a informação médica, ter a certeza que a pessoa tem ou está a ter o tratamento adequado, se não, deve contactar um advogado, deve ter a certeza que o chamado habeas corpus é submetido, porque, pela lei, todos têm o direito a essa necessidade médica e a cuidado correto. I have another question, doctor, has to do with the green card. Someone that has a green card for 2 years, married an American citizen. When that person, they got the green card through their marriage, when they can apply for citizenship. 2 years.
Right. So on a family-based green card, there's 2 different types of green cards. There's a conditional green card, which is for 2 years, and then there's a permanent green card, which is for 10 years. Each of them needs to be renewed. In this person's case, the 2-year green card, they need to file Form I-751, which is a petition to remove the conditions on that green card. That basically says, I'm still married, or I'm not still married, but here's why, and please give me the 10-year green card, okay?
When that needs to be done?
It should be done 6 months prior to the expiration date.
Ok, portanto, muito importante, se tem cartão verde temporário de 2 anos, 1 ano e meio depois de ter o cartão verde, 6 meses antes de expirar, what is the form?
It's called Form I-751.
751. If that person not submit that form, what are the repercussions that may come from there?
Well,
Because
having
that
expired,
seems to be the case.
right? Yeah, I would definitely still file it, and I would see a lawyer when you file it, right?
Okay.
So as of August 5th, there's a new USCIS policy out that says that USCIS can deny your application and keep the fee basically for whatever reason. Missing signature, missing date, you check the wrong box, for whatever reason. So that can delay your process, okay? So a green card is just your physical proof of having permanent residence. having an unexpired green card doesn't necessarily mean that you're not a green card holder, right?
Okay.
You have to have that green card taken away by an immigration judge or by USCIS, one way or the other. So that green card is just the physical proof. So if this person is going to travel on an expired conditional green card, then he's going to have real problems.
Ok, fica aqui, portanto, a informação muito importante, submeter essa forma 751, mais importante, se não submeteu, ter a certeza que submete essa aplicação com a ajuda de advogado. Doctor, each case is a case. We see more and more ICE activities. Let's recap a little bit about the rights of someone not to answer any questions when they are obligated to do so, or what seems to be the correct approach from an immigrant standpoint towards an ICE agents when they get approached?
So your rights vary depending on when and where you're approached by an ICE agent, okay? They vary whether or not you're in your home or on the street or in your car, all right? So let's start with on the street. People see these videos that go viral on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, whatever, of ICE agents approaching someone and apprehending them. So it's important to understand the different phases of a stop, okay? When ICE approaches you, that first interaction is what's called an encounter. That encounter is not considered to be a seizure yet under the U.S. Constitution, under the Fourth Amendment. So they need a reasonable suspicion in order to talk to you. So during that first encounter, you have the right to not speak to them, and you have the right to just walk away. An encounter then becomes what's called a Terry stop, named after the Supreme Court case, Terry v. Ohio. It becomes a Terry stop when they have reasonable and articulable suspicion. How do they get that reasonable and articulable suspicion? Well, when you make statements to them, and you tell them that you're not from this country, or you give them information and you make their case for them. So that's why it's important to exercise your right to remain silent. Another important thing is that how can you tell what type of stop you're in? The answers, the phrases that you need to know are, am I free to leave? Ask the person, am I free to leave? If you are free to leave, stay calm, keep your hands visible, and just leave. If they say you're not free to leave, then you're officially in that Terry stop situation. And then you would say, am I being detained? If you are being detained, also remain silent and say that you want to speak to a lawyer.
É muito importante, portanto, saber as fases desse processo para ter a certeza que não comete nenhum erro, porque muitas das vezes um passo a outro passo tem muito a ver com aquilo que você responde àquilo que lhe foi perguntado. Portanto, muita atenção e tenha a certeza que sabe o que está a acontecer. We spoke or we heard about TPS, Temporary Protection Status. Is that true that it's going to go away?
Well, it depends on the country, but
Okay.
generally speaking, they are taking TPS away from just about everyone.
Okay.
There's still court cases that are going. The most prominent right now, it seems to be the Haitian TPS, but I believe September 9th is when a lot of TPS status for people from El Salvador, and I'm blanking on the other one, but September 9th, and just got to understand when your period...
82, right?
What?
82.
Haiti too. You just got to understand that when your status expires, that now you don't have that temporary protection anymore. So you can expect that they're going to be sending out notices to appear for you to appear in front of an immigration judge.
And what a person in that situation can do or cannot do under the new regulation? Is any contacting a lawyer, what a lawyer can do for that person?
Well, it depends on each individual situation. Everyone's got their own personal situation, and they should know what their specific facts are. There are defenses that person can file in immigration court if they do get a notice to appear in front of a judge. Certain people who have had TPS have been in this country for more than 10 years. Maybe they could file for cancellation of removal. Certain people have a genuine fear of returning to their home country. For example, Haiti. Haiti has gotten significantly worse over the past year, so it makes absolutely no sense that they would get rid of TPS for Haiti of all places, and then maybe they can file an asylum claim, right? Other countries, they don't have as strong of a case as maybe a Haiti type case, but they should know where they are individually.
Correto, muito importante. Portanto, cada caso é um caso, saber exatamente qual é a sua situação. Das pessoas, por exemplo, do Haiti, que ultimamente têm estado debaixo do escrutínio com graves problemas em relação a direitos humanos e tudo mais, poderá haver a possibilidade de ter um caso de asilo, portanto, tem que ter toda essa informação. Doctor, another question that I have here from someone. This person lives right now in New Jersey, is planning to go to Florida, is here in an expired visa from Brazil, so overstayed the 6 months. Should that person travel, yes or no? Especially to Florida, I don't know.
It depends, well, travel permanently or travel?
Travel, no, by plane.
No,
By
but
plane.
like to move there or to
move there.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, Florida's a rough state as far as immigration enforcement. If they're moving for a job, I mean, they got to decide they got to do what's best for them. But they have to understand that we know that ICE is active on domestic flights, in domestic airports. So we know that they're going to be tracked down there. And the state and local police in Florida, at least compared to New Jersey, are doing more immigration enforcement. So when you go to a state like Florida, if you run the risk of more interactions with police, more getting caught in ICE's system. As opposed to New Jersey, like state police in Florida are allowed to work with ICE on a more serious basis. So definitely moving to a state like Florida would increase risks of encounters with ICE.
Now, generally speaking, someone that is on an expired visa, for example, should avoid travel by plane inside the United States.
I would avoid it unless it's absolutely necessary. Yeah, I wouldn't travel on a plane if because think about it, they're using all this new technology, and you have to put in your information when you purchase a flight ahead of time, and we know that TSA, another part of the TSA and DHS, they're sharing information. They're sharing flight lists, and they're using their systems in order to see who's traveling and running it through their databases so that you might come up in their system and it might trigger enforcement action, and ICE could be waiting there. We're used to CBP being at airports, of course, because they're in charge of the border. But lately, we've been seeing more ICE at airports too. So they're looking for people that are flying domestically.
Fica aqui, portanto, a informação. Se não tem que viajar de avião, não viaje. Isso está, é claro, numa situação em que tem um visto expirado, por exemplo, ou ficou mais tempo do que o necessário, porque poderá ter ou enfrentar desafios adicionais. I have another question here for a person that this seems to be a case of this person being charged without paying child support, supposed to pay child support, not paying child support. That was resolved in court, planning to submit paperwork to become American citizen, what they can expect it, and what they need to know to make sure that when they go to the immigration, they know that the case is being resolved properly. So
anything involving citizenship requires you to show that you've been a person of good moral character for the required period. Usually it's for a good moral period of 5 years, unless you're applying for citizenship through your spouse, in which case it'll be 3 years, right? So any interaction with the court system is something that could trigger an analysis. So child support, past due child support, or any child support orders that might have been signed by a judge, anything that goes through probation department, that's something that gets factored into the good moral character analysis that could result in your citizenship application being denied. So it's very important to make sure that you get all of the documents, including the original order that was signed by a judge, proof of payment, proof of your arrears if they existed through the probation department or however you paid it. Get that all together and definitely make sure that you analyze it and you know you can explain what happened when you go in for that citizenship interview, because it might not be an issue, but you also want to have a clear explanation for what happened to be able to satisfy the good moral character requirement.
Now, that paperwork should be submitted with the application or be taken with the person when going to the interview?
It very much depends on what the paperwork is.
What the paperwork
Yes. Yeah.
Correto. Só. Eu penso que aqui o mais importante e eu volto a referir isso, não, se tem qualquer situação que não é clara, quer isto dizer, se uma submissão para uma cidadania implica documentos adicionais porque esteve preso, porque teve um DWI, porque tem child support, por qualquer situação, não faça os papéis por si próprio. Contacte um advogado, porque cada caso é um caso e cada situação deverá ser analisada para que depois não se arrependa de um passo que tenha dado. Is that correct, doctor? Any situation that can bring any questions from the immigration officer, what we recommend is making sure that you do your paperwork throughout an attorney.
Yeah, if you've had any interaction whatsoever with the court system, you definitely need to know. Even if it was a long time ago, 10, 15 years ago, if you had a prior criminal arrest for whatever reason, and even if that criminal arrest got dismissed, it could still impact you, even if you have a green card, because it's not necessarily what you were charged with and what was dismissed. It's a lot of times what you said in court or what you might have admitted to in court. This is stuff that you might have thought you had a safe agreement way back when, but now in these days, it might not necessarily be a safe agreement. So if you've had this interaction in any way with the court system, you definitely want to be careful about when you're filing an immigration application.
Fica aqui, portanto, essa informação. Mais vale prevenir do que remediar. Tenha a certeza que tudo aquilo que envolve uma aplicação para uma naturalização é feita através de um advogado e que todos os papéis, todos os documentos estão disponíveis para que não encontre ou tenha problemas mais à frente. We have another situation related with waiting times for to swear in. Another person has been waiting for 4.5 months. Does that mean that person is being his application, although that they passed the tests and everything, still being analyzed?
Yeah, well, that's another situation when you've had a waiting time that's too long after an application. That's another situation where you definitely want to try doing one of those inquiries to see, because more often than not, they're delaying a lot of cases, and a lot of times they're just delaying because they're just delaying. And you've got to submit an inquiry to find out what's going on. Maybe it'll just kick them into action and they'll do it. And there's another thing that's important, that because there's so many delays, the average processing time now on an I-130 petition in the United States is 21.5 months. That's up from 14 months not that long ago. We're approaching 2 years to get a decision on a simple petition, even on something that is like parent to child, like almost 2 years now. But there are options that you can take. One of them is called filing a petition for a writ of mandamus, where your application has been filed and it's with USCIS and they're taking too long, and it's past the time that they say that they would respond, and they haven't responded to any of your inquiries. You can file this petition with the federal court that basically says, I filed my petition with this federal agency. This federal agency is doing nothing on it. It's past their time. Please make them take action on my petition or whatever it is.
I have a very unique situation. Someone that asking me here, this person is been living together with someone that becomes American citizen about 6 months ago. She came with a visa from Portugal to United States. At that time with their daughter that is now 16 years old. The gentleman became American citizen. They just submit, or they are about to submit the paperwork for that person to get a green card. Where falls the situation, the daughter's situation, 16 years old, goes on the same application. What they need to do? They do need to first go to a lawyer. You are located in Newark, 973-344-9120. Dr. George Ruth is at 48 Wilson Avenue. That you should go. The petition should be done at the same time, mother and daughter, since the daughter is 16 years old.
Yes, you need to file a separate I-130 and separate green card application for each person. There are exceptions to that, but on a primary relative situation, immediate relative situation, they need to file separate applications. And since you mentioned that they were coming from Portugal or overstayed their Portugal, presumably they then entered on a visa waiver, right?
No, 15 years ago. No,
15 years ago, they still would have been visa waiver.
Visa waiver, okay.
So because Portugal joined the visa waiver program in 1999,
so it's 26 years.
So yeah, so anyone who enters on a visa waiver program runs a higher risk of the cost of your rejected application is higher.
Okay.
So if you're filing any type of paperwork to get legal and you're doing it on a visa waiver as the basis for changing your status to green card, you want to be extra careful because the consequences of that are worse than other people who are entered through the border or entered on a regular tourist visa or any other type of visa.
Correct. So, está aqui a informação muito importante. Para si e para a sua filha tem que ser submetidos dois I-130 e 495, right? 485?
485.
485. Two applications for each person, making sure that you understand como veio para cá com visa waiver, as chances de a sua aplicação não ser aprovada aumentaram. Portanto, contacte um advogado, tenha a certeza que tem toda essa informação. Last question that I have has to do with the DACA. Once again, this person submitted the DACA renewal about a month ago, a few weeks prior to the expiration. Up till today, still no answer from USCIS. Is that normal, or where they can check the status of the application?
They can check by putting the receipt number into the USCIS public.
Is the same receipt number as the correct?
Yeah, so they would have filed the I-821D for the DACA deferred action, and they would have filed the permission for work authorization. It's unfortunately for this individual, the DACA application is gonna be delayed. It's gonna be delayed, and he's gonna have a period where he doesn't have work authorization.
At that moment, if anything happened as far as ICE, for example, that will be an illegal situation, correct?
Right. I mean, he loses that protection. Yeah, I would definitely speak to a lawyer about what you can do to perhaps expedite the DACA request. That depends on hardship to him and hardship to his family members. But yeah, it's definitely important to make sure that you file as soon as you can, just because of those delays that we're talking about. They're delaying everything, and it's really not fair. But even people that file right the day that they can, sometimes their DACA applications are just taking too long, and it's something that people need to be on top of.
Fica aqui a informação, portanto, a melhor maneira é contactar um advogado. Eu volto a dizer o número de telefone do Dr. Jorge Russo, 973-344-9120, porque há maneiras de expedite a sua aplicação, portanto, de fazer com que a mesma seja vista mais rapidamente, para evitar cair numa situação em que o seu estatuto legal deixou de estar protegido. Doctor, thank you very much for those 30 minutes. The time flies.
Yeah, it really does go fast.
That's good. We see you again in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good.
Ok. Obrigado uma vez mais. O escritório do Dr. Jorge Russo é 48 Avenida, localizado aqui na cidade de Newark, 973-344-9120. Foi mais um Legal Way. Tenha um ótimo dia. It's good today.